Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a community cast for you guys. It's been a little while since I've done one of these and, well, it seemed like about the right time, plus it is helping me out a little bit, just getting more content on the channel and a wider variety of it. So of course this is, well, not me playing, it's Whiskey, who is a second lieutenant, playing with a first lieutenant Han DeHun, who is of course very often on the channel. I was doing something while they were playing and I don't quite remember what it was, but for better or for worse, I was in the Discord, I think, but not able to watch and not able to play, so they were doing a 2v2 against, it looks like, Heisenberg and Amram, who I've played against Amram before, very good player from what I've seen, and this looks to be a pretty contentious game, well, judging by the time, 26 minutes. Something like that usually means that a fight, one way or another, tends to end the game, so somebody has surrendered here, or won or lost on points before the time expires. Now, it looks like Whiskey is playing Entente, possibly Entente's mech, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to see from the unit selection if he has any super heavies later on, or other indicators like that. But a lot of heavy losses. AH-1Js from Amram really locking this down. I've seen this a couple times before as well. Often people tend to leave them a little bit higher up, and they just wall up anything that comes down this road. And that's a lot of Proletary 90, past Pragas that are in danger, but not dead. And it looks like that's going to be a Shiloh. Yeah, back behind there. A couple of nice shots in, not enough to take these guys down. So unfortunately, both of those AH-1Js get away, and that is going to be a problem later on. You always want to make those sorts of strikes cost your opponent, that way they can't do them again. But there is a +2 for the Blue 4 team. Nice crossfire there from Han DeHun taking out that vehicle, the BMD-2. How did that still land? I thought it was dead. Interesting. What was that anyway? Looks like transport? Yeah, transport or a vehicle of some kind. Not terribly important, but not great either. And this is nice. So Amram's going around the side. Usually people go right down the pipe, either on the left side or right side road. You can really surprise people oftentimes by going around the side and attacking in. And if you can get into this section of trees, and well, particularly down to the front here, you can shoot in at the reinforcing line and basically split this zone in two. It just requires moving really quickly, which this seems to be. Once you're spotted, you gotta go, because there's not a lot of cover over here, and the responses to it very often include bombers, helicopters, things like what Whiskey is bringing out right now. T-55A is Vidyak as well, and two Challenger 1 Mark IIIs. These guys are pretty big, 145 points each, and let's see, that ATGM is a little bit brave. Not the fastest firing rate in the Challengers, of course, but WM, and actually using the ATGM on those guys, the Invar, 24 AP power, 60% accuracy, yeah. Not bad range either, so he's just staying right out of ATGM range, probably from the town, and taking a couple pot shots. If there's no smoke on this, Heisenberg will have a large problem. But it looks like Whiskey is fending this off decently well. Yeah, it's a lot of tank shells coming in, but it's mostly light stuff like the RCSB. A 2A behind it. This looks like generic Blue 4, because otherwise that can't be the same player. Yeah, generic Blue 4, possibly Blue 4 mech as well. I don't see anything too heavy, but I don't tend to play generic Blue 4, so, or generic Red for that matter, because I'm not entirely sure. One of the Challenger 1 Mark III is actually getting taken out there, yeah. This is just bad micro, so I do kind of feel bad for Amram a little at the moment. Heisenberg seems to be kind of throwing a bit of the tank position in Gregory by just probably paying attention to other things. So we did bring in that F-111C, really big bomber, and made a big impact here, so most of Whiskey's stuff has died. But at the same time, is that really worth it if you lose one, possibly two, 145 point tanks over on this side, those UMs getting that kill there, that's nearly 300 points of kills, basically for free over in Gregory. So that is going to be contentious. And now, of course, the tick is 0-0. Not a ton of base defense at the moment, but there is an Vidyak over here, so at least that's blocking off the across the river or something like that. Tatra needs to be unloaded, and there it is, M84A ends, now only shaken, not quite stirred. Taking pot shots out here. Yeah, just a transport. But, I mean, peeling away your opponent's cheap vehicles does matter quite a lot, especially in tank fights, where that sort of chaff tends to win larger engagements with good smoke micro as well. Proletary moving up, I like this play a lot. For 15 points, these guys are, of course, shock infantry, which means they'll do decently well against 20-point shocks or other things like that, trading cost effectively. Prom S is a little out of their element, and the Warrior, often underestimated, is able to clean up there for Amram, and actually no, that's Heisenberg. Yeah, it looks like there's been almost a complete shift over to Boris. I do kind of have to wonder why. So, leaving Feder, leaving Gregory mostly unprotected. Motostrelki going up into the town. They are spotted, though, more than likely. That's probably the F-111C. No, Kahu. Going after the UMs. Oh, please smoke those tanks. And just in the nick of time. Very nice. Evac ordered. Kahu taking a shot. Second shot on the way. That's unfortunate. Probably going to get out, yeah. This is why a lot of people will bring double Book M1 or similar sort of anti-plane AA, because if you land one and then miss one, or miss one and land one, oftentimes the enemy plane is out before that third shot has a chance to land, and yeah, that's the difference between it coming back again and not. BVP's one of the best vehicles in the entire game by many people's estimation, especially for the Entente Coalition, but not able to crack that Gepard's frontal armor, at least not entirely. But see, this is the problem that Blue 4 is going to have because of Whiskey reinforcing in with, you know, cheap chaff like the Mechanizovna, but also having BVPs, is this sort of strike around the side has now lost its element of surprise. Now there's a lot of expensive units over there, almost, I'd say, overextended, because these BVPs are shooting in from the woods. There's better cover over on this side. I would have loved to see an ATGM team, maybe right here, one of these two buildings. It just denies this whole section, or at least makes it very costly. And we do have, ooh, that's nice, SAS around the flanks from the Blue 4 team. Unclear if that was spotted by Honda Hun. Of course, his unit spotted it. That's a big difference between your units picking something up and you noticing during the game. Don't always correspond to each other. That's a dead F-111C, much better. Okay, so between the Sava, the Silo, the L-18, and the OSA, but that Hornet hadn't fired any of his missiles yet, and that's going to be a trade. Well, fair enough. That is better for the Red 4 team in the long run. One ASF lost on both sides, but the Bomber also lost for Blue, which does net Red a big advantage, and AMRAAM's going around. So you see the M35 crossing the bridge there. Now is the time to buy base defense, and it looks like they are doing that. BRDM-3, Mi-8Ts. I'd like to see some infantry back here, just cheap, you know, roadblock sort of stuff, a line infantryman, something like that, to really make sure nothing gets around there without at least having to fight, having to get detected, and yeah. Two players over on this side. Fusiliers 90, Commandos 90. That's going to be both AMRAAM and Heisenberg, and I like what the Red 4 team is doing here. So Whiskey moving his BVPs up, Han moving some Razvedka forward, and Motostrelki. Just a light detachment, so they are ready to fight over in Boris, but taking the ground, making sure they have the control of that, and every attempt from Blue to get back in is going to be more costly than if they just sort of sat there and let their opponents attack them for free. IL-102 getting forward, but that is going to be, oh geez, very close. Nice attack marker too. When you see something like this, when you see those heavy AA pieces fire, may as well fire back. If your opponent doesn't move them, it could be a free kill. At this point, okay, SAS in the open, Leopard 2A1s on the side. Yeah. Here's the thing with 2A1s, this is really just killing me. I know it's the third time I've said it, this replay, but once this fails, can't really try it again, from what I've seen. If memory serves, I did this against, I believe, either a colonel or a lieutenant colonel in the late game. But when I did that, I did it very quickly. Everything came down here and charged. And it was one and done, it was one big attack, and it was very much the element of surprise that made a lot of that useful. Because these 2A1s have been spotted for a while, Red 4 team knows exactly where they are, and that's going to make using them very difficult in the open. In fact, some of the smoke in there is a little bit late. If Red had kind of wanted to, probably could have gotten an ATGM plane in there and gotten a free kill, maybe even two on those Leopard 2A1s, depending on what they had. Of course, it is sort of plane bait as well, because we did see radar anti-air back there, or at least I'm assuming it's radar AA. Something big enough to knock down a plane in only a couple of hits. Pros and cons. Right. Okay, so Mista S. Strela, doesn't look like there's any cluster artillery for Red, otherwise that would be a prime target. They're just sitting there. So, you know, fire at them, fire at the smoke, fire at where they're retreating to. If they're going to leave those 200 points just sitting there in the open, may as well do something to get rid of them. Possibly even a Salamandra could have really exploited that, or of course the Soviets, which is Honda Hun's faction, does have a couple of nice options. I tend to take the Mi-28, but I'm not entirely sold on that. It does have 16 ATGMs, which is very nice, and now the SAS are spotted. Spetsnaz Guru and a BTR-90 working together is going to be a dangerous combination. So BTR-90 is very far back, but that 2A72 autocannon will get shots in, and the SAS, well microed here, are trying to get out of that engagement, hopping buildings so they aren't seen, and then trying to get back into the smoke. It's just a matter of if they're quick enough. Of course, Special Forces do have wheels for feet running at 30 kilometers per hour everywhere they go all the time, so it is going to be a tough chase and a bit of a lull. There's more combat, and the HT-40s just sort of probing in force, I guess. Yeah. So far, a very nice game to the Red 4 team, to Whiskey and Honda Hun both. This is an incredibly dominant position on the board, and I kind of see why this is going to be a 26-minute game, not something longer. My only little critique at this point is if you have such good control of these two zones and you've pushed back a couple of attacks, get them capped. And there's an M84 AK coming up right now, but you may as well be ticking... Oh, there it is, Mi-8T as well. Yeah, look at that. Good plays. If you have this much control, you may as well be widening the gap on score, because if your opponent is sitting for this long, they're probably building a counterattack, and it could come in anywhere where you're prepared for it, over here, or where you're not as prepared for it in the open into Gregory, which actually, at this point, if I were blue, I'd probably do that. I'd probably switch it and just go right down here, try and retake Gregory, and if it becomes a contested 1-on-1 again and they cap that, then now you're not getting any points. You may as well take the +2 while you can. MRAWs on this side from Heisenberg, M13A1, 3050. Frankly, I'd say no reason to fight over this right now. So if your enemy as Blue 4 controls this section of the map, they can deny this corner of Fetter. So into the Triangle Forest, sometimes into these, or at least that's what I've been told. It's sort of my experience with that sort of position. And what does this section matter right now? If Red 4 has Gregory, you can deny reinforcements in on this side, let them take the ground that isn't a zone. Doesn't really matter so much, but there is lots of stuff up here on the high ground, a couple of units dying, and they did get decent vision. So Double Chieftain Mark 10, of course 65 points each, 16 AP, 14 frontal armor, solid tank all around, honestly. There are some tanks people will probably like better for 65 points, mostly because of that 7 rounds per minute fire rate, but yeah, solid. Take a hit, it'll give out a decent punch as well, and there's no ATGMs over here to punish that, so if they come down right there, I think they would be visible definitely to the buildings, but also possibly to ATGMs around here. So if you sneak one up to this section of trees, or maybe more over on the side. But I like the good cautious play. If you have the board advantage here, do something sneaky, but otherwise don't take a lot of risks. So if these Monostrelki die, that's 10 points. It's really not a big problem. They add up to big problems if you lose a lot of them, but individually not so much, and there's lots of valuable intelligence here being gathered by those Motostrelki. You can do this as well with something like Spetsnaz Gru. They have much better optics, and that will be very useful. But this is fine, this is good enough. It'll tell you if your opponent is really gathering to do something important in where, and they have actually switched over. It does look like this is going to be a push from the Blue 4 team working together. Yeah, working together. That's Heisenberg. No, okay, this is mostly Heisenberg. Does make me wonder where Amram is going. He is a first lieutenant, so quite capable at the game, and not seeing his units in the front line after this much of a lull is a little bit surprising. Fair enough. Alon 2s. Okay, Kahu in the air from Heisenberg rather. And there needs to be smoke here on the UM. I wondered, did the second one die and we just didn't see it? Of course, we have been watching Whiskey's unit, so we wouldn't get an alert for that. Kahu in the air, PU taking him down. There it is, and please get out before... Yeah, fair enough. Needs to be evac ordered there. And... Okay, so the Commando Autolinea were moved. Not entirely sure why. Interesting. HQ section from Heisenberg moving up into Gregory, and this is extremely risky. So Chieftains are in. He probably doesn't know about the Mostrelki in the town, just observing that the Chieftains weren't taking that much fire. But here's a Super Gallop from Whiskey, 1 kill, and ooh, big hit there. Yeah, not a great trade, unfortunately. This is the thing with planes like that, planes in general. You gotta get your value out, and that's gonna be a very nice answer. Eurofighter Typhoon. Manual turn by the look of it? Yeah, trying to dodge that AA net, definitely. And it does too. So Eurofighter Typhoon, of course, has excellent electronic countermeasures. So most of those missiles were not able to make contact, but these artillery shells definitely did. So that looks like that command infantry squad is wiped off the map completely at that point. Very nice. Very nice indeed. I like the forward pressure here as well, so if your opponent's sitting for that long, you may as well just take some militia, throw them at them, you'll get some vision, you'll make sure that they're not able to attack you in for free. And it looks like the Blue 4 team's mostly defending. So Commandos 90, Chieftain Mark 10. Yeah, very passive gameplay here from the Blue 4 team. Does kind of make you wonder what the long-term plan is, and lots of smoke coming down. So this is complicated position. So if you're pushing up into these section of trees, oftentimes fire will come from this section of town over on the right, as well as the forests, and that can be just such a hugely deleterious thing for your push. So this is very nice blocking it off. On the other hand, it does risk them taking advantage of it. So if there's infantry here, they can do the short hop into the woods and come down right into the side, basically without anything back here being able to fire them on them either. So imagine if you had something like a hind or some sort of attack helicopter backing over these woods, they'd be able to see into here and take shots. If there's smoke there, it's going to be a little bit more tricky for the line of sight situation, and Blue has pushed back that assault. So lots of BVPs going down, as well as Nietzsche going down, Thermomig coming in to answer, and that could be a very valuable Thermomig right there. Oh, yeah, that's rough. Come on. Yeah, okay. Does get out. Very nice. And the third ping that we've seen so far on those anti-air pieces, still without any artillery counterfire on them. I do wonder, we haven't really been watching what the Mista S is firing. Probably something over on Han's side of the board, not Whiskey's. Not sure. So, Entente Mech doesn't get the plummet. So if there's you wondering why we don't see it, I think that's probably why this does look like a mechanized deck. We can actually probably tell off the, yeah, okay, look at that infantry veterancy. This is a mechanized deck. General decks don't get as much infantry veterancy, so the fact that these Mechanizovana are almost at elite, they're actually at veteran, without seeing combat, is a good indication of the type of deck that it is. We should have checked that earlier, my apologies for that. But Commandos 90 are very capable, and yeah, okay, this is Blue Mech from Amram because he has the same infantry veterancy bonus. This is something that will change and dictate a lot of forest grinds. It's why mechanized decks are so good at that compared to general, because even if you had Commandos 90 versus Commandos 90, the ones out of the mechanized deck would win, hands down, every time, not even close. Veterancy on similar units is just wonderful, because as soon as infantry gets stunned, they're not shooting, and that advantage just compounds. So Morley infantry will inflict that status effect faster on their opponents, at least most of the time, and win the fight from there very, very dominantly indeed. Yeah, this is great. I haven't done a community cast in a while, and I think it's been a bit of a missed opportunity. So please send in any replays that you have. The Discord is linked in the video description per usual. So if you send video replays there, just take the file out. If you don't know how to do it, basically you have to find your save location for Wargame Red Dragon and grab the raw save file itself. It helps to rename it before you send it to, so load into Wargame, rename it, open the file location, grab the file, send it my way, and if you do want something like this with your own video, with your own replay, with your own game, just a bit of a highlight on what you were doing and all of that, yeah, just drop it off and tell me, if you can, what deck you were playing and what your name was in the chat. I've had people send them in before, and then their Discord name's different from the tag that they were using in the game, and I have no idea who's who. So it can be a little bit confusing at times. Lots of Blue 4 units. I do have to wonder if they're coming in. Merkava 2As are wonderful force fighters, particularly against infantry, and particularly against units and factions that don't have that heavy support. So they'll struggle a bit more against Soviets with things like BMPTs, but even then, honestly, BMPTs cannot stand up to Merkava 2 in the woods. Nice Eurofighter Typhoon there. Yeah, that's really nice. Getting out for the second time, it looks like. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful ASF play. This is a really hard map from what I've seen to have successful bombing runs, just because the air reinforcement zones are very close. So if you have a forward position and you're going in for that bombing run, look at how close the land reinforcement zone is. Sorry, the air reinforcement zone is right here. So they're going to come out already at an angle. If your bomber's coming in this way, they're coming in at it, and they're in a perfect line to manually be told to curve around to the side and to get out scot-free, which can be very, very challenging. So AMX-10R CSBs, lots of Zeldas, Merkava 2As. Yeah, they have all the tools they need. It's really interesting to see that Red is the one that's being the aggressor here, and actually doubling up very well, so this is a great thing to do. Of course, bring all of that brunt to bear. Two players, not just one, in a 2v2 attacking one static position, and the Blue 14 was defending 2 against 1 earlier, but this looks like it's just Amram. and that's going to be taking pressure in from Hun and from Whiskey here, working together. Getting that kill on Merkava 2A is beautiful, and Jaguar Jeer 1A? Oh, okay. ATGM. 102, yeah. The coordination here is excellent. It's really forestalling a lot of aggression from the Blue 4 team, as basically a counter push opportunity was foiled there. Those heavy tanks moving back, panicked, stunned, damaged, all the things they don't want to be. Oh, Centurion neighbors. Yeah, okay. Don't want to see that in the woods either. Yeah. Really heavy armor, really high HE power gun with, of course, area of effect rounds, so even if it misses, you're not exactly safe. Let's just say that. Yeah. FV510 Warrior, more Recover 2As. Very nice game here from both Hun and Whiskey. A couple of extra plane losses that have to hurt that, well, what everyone looks at. I know it's a conquest game, right? The points over here on the right matter, not the points in the kills and losses, but that's what everyone looks at. We all know. You end the game, and you want to know how well you did, and often people look at the number of kills, number of losses for that, even if they won the game, even if they lost the game on points. So Centurion Avers, yeah, this is a great showcase here. They should go right through these mechanisms over if they don't have the armor piercing to take them on. Interesting, maybe a couple of problems firing? Oh, okay, so stabilization they don't have, so they're actually backing up, huh. Bit of a wet noodle Centurion Aver right there. Interesting. Yeah, they're taking frontal fire from line infantry. They should not be doing that. Looks like a bit of a mistake. Right click from the Centurion Aver's controller Heisenberg instead of an attack order. These units don't have a stabilizer. They cannot fire on them. So basically they're force pathing, exposing really fragile side and rear armor to infantry that they would otherwise have just chewed through in a second or two. Maybe even less. That's a counter cap though. Okay, blue is forestalling their fate just a bit. Royal Marines, of course, very nice. If these guys were following up, or, well, rather fighting with those Centurion Avers, that would get through a lot of what Red 4 has on this section. And simultaneous attack down here from Heisenberg going in once more. Warriors leading the way, Chieftains falling behind, Fusiliers. I do wonder why they weren't dropped off a little bit farther forward, because now what's going to happen is the Warriors are going to be out in front of the Fusiliers, which these guys have worse optics, so they have poor optics. Fusiliers are medium optics, so they're not going to be able to see as far as they can fire. T80UM taking advantage of that beautifully. And then once they're gone, the Fusiliers don't have any support. They're moving across the open supports, which is going to basically cause this whole push to fail once again. I do get a little bit judgy in Community Cast. I don't tend to have that same bit for my own, just because, I don't know, it's one thing seeing your own mistakes. I always feel like I'm being too harsh for them, because I have no problem saying, hey, you know, I really screwed up there. This was a horrible play, I shouldn't have done it, lost me the game and all that. But if I point at somebody and say, hey, this is a horrible play, it lost you the game and all that, I feel like I'm being a bit of a jerk. So I never mean it that way, of course. So Heisenberg has surrendered, and it looks like we're drawing to a close here. Let's take a look at some of the MVPs from Whiskey's side of the field after this very clean two-player match on, of course, Paddy Field. So 28-50 kills for blue, 32-15 kills for red. Looks like some own goals there, probably from area of effect weapons and or that F-111C bomber. And Whiskey going 1230 to 1880. I did not think it was that. Okay, I have a hunch. Let's see if my hunch is correct. Hun to Hun going 2-1, basically 1985 to 980. My hunch is this is mostly planes. We'll take a look. M84A did very well. Infantry, yeah, dealing with Blue Mech is very hard. Particularly in the woods where they like to fight. Proletary killing a Stormer is very nice. And Super Gallop did pick up a Chieftain. But what we don't see... Okay, so another Super Gallop. This one got close to paying for itself. Nearly did. 5 points off. 115 points of kills. 120 point plane. Losses. Let's take a look in. And... let's see... looking for... okay, Super Gallop was lost. We're looking for planes. Yeah, that's a Thermomig. Didn't get any kills that we saw. Might have gotten a couple with the Napalm, but none directly credited. Yeah, okay, I guess not mostly planes. Very just attritive game. But hey, nice showcase. Thank you for sending in the replay. Ah, the L18 as well. Forgot about that. Yeah, losing to that Hornet is pretty bad, and it looks like he didn't quite get the kill on the bomber either, so that's going to be skewing that KD just a tad there as well. But, well, hats off to all of the players in this game. Many thanks to Whiskey for sending in the replay, and that's all we've got for you guys today. So thank you all for hanging around. See you again real soon.